yesterday's news.
Hello and welcome to Old News, the show and podcast which looks at the news of the day through the papers of yesterday, or yesteryear. Well, it is Easter, so that seems a wonderful topic. It falls every year, sometimes in March, sometimes in April, sometimes very early, sometimes very late, but it always arrives one way or another. Sometimes we have white Easters on the Isle of Man. But what had happened in the past? Has it featured much? Was it a keen time for entertainment and news? Well, yes, I think it was to a degree. Let's have a quick cast back in any case. We'll go all the way back to 1893, the Isle of Man Times, Saturday, April the 1st, so a similar sort of time of year. Easter excursions, we're told. Tomorrow, today, Easter Monday. During the Easter holidays, the favourite saloon steamer Fairy Queen will, weather permitting, make excursions from Douglas. A rare chance. Today, April the 1st, that's a Saturday, Laxey and Ramsey at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m, returning from Ramsey at 12:30 and 5:30 p.m. Fare, Laxey return 1 and 6. Ramsey return 2 shillings. That's 10p, isn't it, in new money? Or Easter Sunday, Port St Mary for Port Erin, leaving the Victoria Pier at 3 p.m, returning at 6 p.m. The fare, single 1 and 6, return 2 shillings. There were also Easter Monday excursions by the steamer Fairy Queen around the Calf Island and Chickens Lighthouse, leaving Victoria Pier at 10 and 3 again, arriving back at 1 and 6. And that would only cost you 1 shilling. Refreshments, we are told, are available on board. In 1897, the Easter season, the Isle of Man Examiner, Saturday, April the 24th. The Easter season of 1897 was a record one, the arrivals of visitors exceeding in number those of any previous Easter. Unfortunately, the weather was not of the balmy character we are generally accustomed to at Eastertide. Are we? Though Sunday was a fine day, while Easter Monday was fine up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Thursday of last week was the first day of the Easter visitor traffic. The Prince of Wales was the first steamer from Liverpool. She left at 20 minutes to 12 for 11:30 and had on board 1,150 passengers. Despite the strong sea encountered, she made a good passage, arriving at Douglas in 3 hours, 50 minutes after leaving Liverpool. I think that's as fast as today, isn't it? The Tynwald at 4:30 was the next steamer from Liverpool with 700 passengers. The Snaefell took the midnight sailing, and although the wind had increased to half a gale in strength, there were still around 300 passengers. On Good Friday, the Prince of Wales left Liverpool at 10:30 with 700 passengers, the next sailing 2 o'clock by the Tynwald with 200 passengers. On Saturday, when rain poured throughout the morning in Douglas, that's more like it, the Prince of Wales from Liverpool at 10:30 arrived with 500 passengers, the Tynwald from Liverpool at 10:30 p.m. with another 500, and the Snaefell at midnight with 300. Monday's traffic showed an increase of 200, the total arrivals on the 4 days being 5,000, which was about 1,000 in excess of last year. That was 1897. I think we would be quite happy with 5,000 visitors for Easter these days, wouldn't we? If we could cope. The Isle of Man Times, Saturday, April the 17th, 1897. Just to help things go along after that record season, Easter, Easter, Easter. The Crown Machine Bakery Limited are making preparations for Eastertide and are ready to receive orders for buns, cakes, etc. Speciality, full-sized, hot cross buns. I wonder how big the full-size ones were. 16 for 1 shilling. Cash. Orders per post or telephone promptly attended to. And that was a bakery at Woodbourne, we're told. That was it. Telephone number, 75. Just 75. That was it. Those were the days. In the Examiner of Saturday, April the 19th, 1919. Of course, not long after the end of the Great War. There's just a piece called The Joy of Easter. Now, it's actually a poem, quite a touching one, credited to Beatrice A. Ayres, MSP, Preston Brook near Warrington. Easter bells again are ringing, hope and comfort they are bringing to the sad and stricken hearts of men. They are telling of the dawning of the resurrection morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise again. Death or life hath no dominion, Christ has loosed the binding pinion, and the grave can never hold us fast. Jesus at the tomb's dark portal claims the life that is immortal, tramples on our dreaded foe at last. Listen if your faith is fleeting, if you have no hope of meeting those you loved and lost from earth and time. Christ made life and love eternal, they must flourish ever vernal, here or in a fairer, brighter clime. So their Easter bells bring gladness from the depths of gloom and sadness, for they tell of life's sweet endless day, that we were not all created for an idle whim, then fated to be banished from God's care away. Very touching, if a little work needed on the scanning, I think. 1929 in the Isle of Man Examiner, Friday, April the 5th. Manxland's sunny Easter holiday spent in the open. Passenger arrivals nearly 6,000. That's 1,000 more than 1897. But fewer Easter weddings, we're told. The Isle of Man enjoyed the sunniest Easter it has had for nearly 20 years. Between Thursday morning and Easter Monday evening, some 50 hours of bright sunshine were recorded, and on Friday and Saturday the temperature was higher than on many a day in midsummer. Although it was a wonderful Easter for sunshine throughout the northwest of England and North Wales, the island was right in the forefront and had an even better sunshine record than Llandudno and Southport, which were among the more favoured of the West Coast resorts. We did well then. The warmth and brilliance of the weather at the weekend was doubly welcome, since it followed a winter of unnatural severity. Everyone seemed to have made up their minds to make the first holiday of the year a real open-air one. Picnic parties were scattered over the hills, in the sheltered valleys and along the beaches, and a few adventurous souls indulged in sea bathing. Manx folk and visitors in the island joined in revisiting the favourite beauty spots, and they were well repaid, for while Easter was unusually early this year, the countryside is already beautiful. The roads were busy, and buses in particular were called upon to cope with a larger amount of traffic than had been anticipated. On Good Friday, over 1,000 people travelled by train to Port Sodric. The enterprising motor charabanc proprietors, who arranged excursions to the Point of Ayre and other places, met with a substantial amount of patronage. Country rambles were a popular feature, and outdoor sports played a big part in the Easter programme. And then it goes on to tell us that, as you might expect, there was a sudden change in the weather on Sunday afternoon when it became much colder with the threat of rain. We won't depress ourselves going any further, but it sounded quite nice for the first part. In the IOM Times of Saturday, April the 8th, 1939, not long before war broke out, sadly, 2 Easters in a year. When will something be done about our absurd calendar, we're asked. Time to awaken the Home Office. Everything depends upon the moon. And this is credited to a special correspondent. The world is celebrating Easter this year at the second weekend of April, on April the 9th. This is exactly halfway between the 2 extreme dates at which Easter can fall. The last year in which Easter fell on this date was 1882, the year Gordon died at Khartoum, and the last time before that was 1871. Only twice in the last century, 4 times in the 18th century and 4 times in the 17th century, has Easter fallen on April the 9th. If our present antiquated calendar survives, the feast will be celebrated on this date only twice more in this century, in 1944 and 1950. But it may well be that before many years have passed, Easter will be permanently fixed in a reformed, perpetual calendar. Well, it hasn't happened yet, it has to be said. Meanwhile, we endure patiently the absurdity of a calendar devised by Julius Caesar for the ancient Romans. Next year, he says, Easter will fall on March the 24th, that was 1940. There will thus be 2 Easters in the financial year that begins on April the 6th. 2 Easters in 12 months, which, as Euclid would be justified in saying, is absurd. The earliest date on which Easter can fall is March the 22nd, which has not happened since 1818, and the latest date is April the 25th, which is the date of Easter in 1943. And he carries on in a similarly annoyed tone. It is all rather preposterous, for Easter Day commemorates the resurrection just as Christmas Day commemorates the Nativity, and there seems no more reason why Easter should float about between March and April than there would be for Christmas to wander from December into January. And then he goes on to explain the mechanism by which Easter is fixed, which we all know about, but of course none of us can remember. Suffice to say, here we are in 2025 and 2024 rather, and there's no sign yet of the calendar being changed, I think. And finally, 1947, Saturday, April the 5th, in the IOM Times. What's on at Easter? Easter attractions at Douglas Places of Entertainment include special programmes, matinees and dances. The Gaiety Theatre is closed on Good Friday, but all these cinemas are open as usual. Laughter show by the Gaiety Players, which commences on Easter Monday, is the Fred Dupre farce, My Wife's Family, of which there are 2 performances on Monday evening. In addition to the usual attractions at the Palais de Danse, there is a ballroom ball on Saturday and Easter Carnival Ball on Monday, to music by Harold Morehouse and his Havana Band. Harold, well known on the Isle of Man, of course. There is a boxing display at the Palais de Danse on Friday of next week. That should get the dancers going. Thrills and suspense provide excellent film fare at the Picture House next week in The Odd Man Out with James Mason, Robert Newton and Kathleen Ryan, and at the Strand till Wednesday, where Anne Savage and Hugh Beaumont star in Apology for Murder. Thursday's comedy, The Show-Off, features Red Skelton and Marilyn Maxwell in the screen version of the American stage success. Anthony Asquith's happy adaptation of Terence Rattigan's comedy While the Sun Shines comes to the Regal with Ronald Howard, Leslie Howard's son, Barbara White and other good character actors. There is a matinee at the Picture House on Monday afternoon and special cartoon matinees at the Regal on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. And I bet there's a few people listening to this who remember those special cartoon matinees at the Regal. Easter, it comes and goes, doesn't it? It does move around a little bit. It wouldn't appear there's any great thirst to make it a fixed date, even all those years after that correspondent was annoyed in 1939. But you never know, stranger things have happened at sea. In the meantime, I wish you a very happy Easter. And you know what? Easter, it's all old news, isn't it? See you next time. Cheerio.
You're gonna be yesterday's news.